Please, I'm confused. Nigeria confuses me. And they confuse. Like I say, I don't get sense. What happens? How do you prove in the Evidence Act?
Democratic Party, PDP, and its candidate, Asue Ighodalo, have rejected the verdict of the Edo State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal, which upheld the victory of Governor Monday Okpebholo of the All Progressives Congress in the September 2024 election. The PDP had challenged the declaration of the Independent National Electoral Commission, which showed that Okpebholo secured a total of 291,667 votes to defeat his closest rival, Ighodalo, who got a total of 247,655 votes. Delivering judgment in Abuja on Wednesday, the tribunal said the petitioners failed to discharge the burden of proof placed on them by the law. Well, joining us now on the show is Dr. Anthony Aziegbemi, Chairman, Edo PDP Caretaker Committee. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
Well, Doctor, thank you for joining us. Before now, we had a spokesperson for the APC on the program who said he's a good lawyer. I don't think he should have said that because that would be interpreted as a self-advertisement. And he also said your lawyers were stammering in court. How did you people end up with stammerers? Is that an offense? But basically what the tribunal said is that, you couldn't discharge the burden of proof in your representations before the tribunal. Just your right of reply, just in case you watched the earlier guest we had on this program.
Ruben, thanks for having me. I missed that program. I didn't watch it, but I have an idea of what you will have said. So I can't thank you enough for having me, or having this right of reply. Now, let's be clear on what we had yesterday. Yesterday, there was massive, huge travesty of justice. The tribunal, the three-man tribunal chaired by Justice Wilfred Apochi, for whatever reason, turned jurisprudence on its head. Now, when they say our lawyers were stammering, just to say that none of the lawyers yesterday spoke in court. So there was no issue of anybody, there was no need for anybody to stammer. Because it was just the judges to reel out the judgments that they have, the conclusion they got in those judgments. But what are the facts? What did we take to the tribunal? What did we expect them to look at? We have consistently said that we do not have any issues with the elections at the 4,500 polling units in Edo State. Elections were held at that level. What we have said, which we took to the tribunal, was that there was substantial non-compliance with the provisions of the Electoral Act. And we broke it down in two parts. Number one, they did not fill, the INEC did not fill Form EC25B, where the Supreme Court has said, if you don't fill those forms, all the results from those units affected are null and void. Now, Ruben, you permit me to say this. The Form EC25B is not filled at the polling units. It's filled at the RAC centers. A RAC center is Registration Area Center. And it's filled a day before the elections at the RAC centers, where you have the SPOs and the presiding officers. There is no political party agent at the RAC centers. So how do you expect a political party's agent to come to the court to testify to a place where he's not supposed to be, to give credence to the fact that the Form EC25B, which was not filled in 320 polling units, we should have taken out of APC's votes about 46,000 votes. You say we should have called a polling unit agent to come there. That is travesty of justice. That is not right. That is not in Nigeria we want to live with. That is not in Nigeria we want to bequeath to our kids. second leg of our petition, we said there was overvoting in 175 polling units. You are saying, even if we brought the beavers, we brought the extracts, we brought it from EC8A to show that there was overvoting, we should have called the 175 polling unit agents to come and testify. And you know the most interesting thing of the whole thing? The tribunal hinged the argument on our calling the polling unit agents because on the case of Tanko versus INEC. That's a senatorial election case in Kaduna in 2023, where the APC candidate lost to the PDP candidate. And the appeal court then said that this section 137 of Electoral Act that says if you have the documentary evidence certified by the relevant authority, you don't need oral evidence. They are saying we should have still called, because that section, that's what the appeal court said, that section does not give you the right not to call polling unit agents. But, Ruben, will you believe that we are not talking about polling unit agents? At that level, we are fine.
Okay. So I'd like to ask a question now. Like I asked from the first guest. I don't know if you are a lawyer. Because you see, we faced this problem after the presidential elections went to courts and the judgment of the Supreme Court. The question is, what's the Evidence Act like? How do you prove in this case? If a court says you brought Beaver's machine, but you just brought some recording somewhere of the Beaver, are you supposed to be the one to operate the Beavers? Are you to prove to them in the courts? I mean, because I don't know. The same court system said you chronologically arrived at your evidence and all of that, arranged your evidence, but you didn't prove in the end that your witnesses didn't speak to the event. Please, I'm confused. Nigeria confuses me. And they confuse. Like say I don't get sense. What happens? How do you prove in the Evidence Act?
That is... Oseni, that is why the candidate and the party, we are taking this thing to the appeal court. We have to take it to the appeal court. Just as you are confused, I am confused. I'm sure most Nigerians are confused. We don't seem to understand what the judiciary is trying to do with this country. A document is brought to your court, certified by the authority meant to certify it. The materials were brought to the court. You admitted them. In ruling on the motions, some motions brought in yesterday, he said the court admits these documents, and he overruled the objections of the second and the third respondents. And you turn back and say, no, though we admitted those documents, but the documents were dumped on us. Is it that at this level, at the tribunal level, is it that they didn't want to read? Is it that they didn't want to look at those documents? Is it that they didn't have the capacity? Is it that something else made them to arrive at that conclusion that they arrived at yesterday? I'm confused too, like you, Oseni. And that is why we think at the appellate court and ultimately at the Supreme Court.
Who is supposed to even, walk the Beaver's machine for the courts? I mean, they say you people brought Beaver's machine, but you didn't walk the Beaver. Who is supposed to? I don't understand. Please, I don't, because for the interest of, I don't know how this Evidence Act happens. Dr. Abati, maybe you might have some clarity, as you are a lawyer of many years of repute and training. I don't know how these things in the Evidence Act works. That's my confusion this morning. Dr. Abati, over to you. Okay,
Dr. Azegbemi, if I may come in here. Now, what the tribunal said is that, yes, documents were provided in as many bags as possible, but that documents do not speak for themselves, that you have to adduce the evidence, and that it's not their duty to go on a voyage of discovery of whatever was inside those bags of evidence. In other words, they were saying that you were not able to prove your case, that's the PDP and your candidate, in terms of overvoting and non-compliance. That's what they said, to be clear. And it was your duty to discharge the burden of proof. However, there was something else that happened that I wanted to draw attention to. About 24 hours before that tribunal delivered this verdict, there was some story in circulation about how there was a leaked ruling and that in any case the tribunal was going to vote 2-1, that there would be a dissenting position. But at the end of the day, what that leaked tribunal judgment has done is to say, well, the tribunal will rule against the PDP and your candidate. How did you feel? In case you saw that story, just before, did you see it as some kind of hanky-panky in the judicial process, or you thought, well, this must be fake news or AI generated since we're in the age of social media?
Yes, I saw that purportedly leaked tribunal judgment 24 hours before the judgment. I didn't make sense of it. I thought a few APC hotheads were just trying to boost their base, and I didn't lend credence to it. I just felt it was one of those type of things you do so that your base will not be shattered, or they will not be too shattered when you lose. So for us as a party, we ignored it. We didn't. If you notice, we didn't issue any statement on that. Many people called to say, "What is the party doing about that?" And I said, "No, we're not going to deal on rumors. We will rather deal with facts when we have them, just as we have them now." The tribunal has taken a decision which we think is clearly travesty of justice, and we think that they became effectively the fourth respondent in this case. And that is why we are going to the appeal court. Ultimately, we'll get to the Supreme Court and make sure that this travesty, the will of Edo people, which they freely expressed on the 21st of September, is up ahead when they voted massively for Oseni Ighodalo and the PDP during that election.